All right, welcome. Developing a killer resume. I'm super excited today to be sharing with you some great tips and tricks on how to really amp up your resume. And people say to me all the time, I've gotten help on my resume. I've hired a professional to help me develop my resume. And there are many, many times where I am finding that they're not very good. I just know as a recruiter working for 30 years and reviewing resumes all the time that resumes just lacked significantly in a lot of information, and that can make or break your resume being passed forward. So the key is to have a really strong resume that really speaks well about you so that your resume gets looked at with whomever is important for you. So a little bit about me. I am a corporate executive recruiter. I have over 30 years of experience working in global environments and small corporations as well. So I've worked with credit card services. I've done recruitment in engineering, IT, marketing, most administrative roles. I've also done environmental health and safety. And I've really done recruitment all over the US as well as international. And I've handled junior roles on up to CEO level. So really a lot of recruitment experience. I've really decided that I know a lot from the inside. I see what happens from the employer standpoint, and I really want to pass that forward and share it with you all as candidates, because I feel like you're kind of left out there in the dark, not really knowing what is important and key to employers, especially in a job search interview process. I also have my own business where I've been in business for 8 years as a headhunter, also as doing career coaching, and I've just written a book, Journal Your Way to Success. So check that out on Amazon. A great tool for clients that I work with, really anybody. It's kind of my lifestyle and the way that I've found a lot of success. And it's really balancing your whole entire life. And finding this is a great tool to help you do that, because I find when I'm balanced in my personal life, social life, and then I do really, really well in my job. So I think it's a great tool. I've got another book coming, Journal Your Way to an Ideal Career. So super excited about that. So definitely be watching for that. So let's dig in. So facts from a recruiter, like I said and shared a little bit, I do thousands of interviews I have done over the phone and face-to-face. I just see where candidates have all this amazing and technical background of fabulous education. But then the way it's displayed on their resume is just poor. And sometimes there's grammatical errors, there's actually spelling issues, things don't jump out, it's not clear what their role was or responsibilities. And I'm going to get into a lot of that because that's really what could make or break it. And it's really important that you guys understand that a resume gets reviewed. Honestly, if you're lucky, if it gets looked at, the most time that an average recruiter spends looking at a resume is going to be about 20 to 30 seconds. You've got to remember, we get hundreds of resumes that come through. And so rarely am I reading a resume from top to bottom. A lot of times I'm looking for the keywords. I go right to the meat of the information, and we're going to dig into a lot of that. But you've got to keep that in mind. You've got to impress them in the first 30 seconds. So there's a lot of tips on how to do that. And that's where a lot of resumes lose it, is that there's way too much searching and digging to find those details. And recruiters are just not going to spend that time. Neither are hiring managers. So we're going to talk a lot about that in this webinar today. So the do's and don'ts of a good resume, and do keep in mind, this is really a real glossed overview. I offer these services and do a lot of consulting, and we really dig into the resume and spend a good amount of time cleaning it up and perfecting it. But here are kind of the top things that I find that I definitely have to coach clients on. And I love the look of a really good looking resume. And what I mean by that is colors, how big your name is in reference to the other information, specific things that are bolded and not bolded, just really clean, obviously starting with your experience, the most current going on down. But really, I like the format to be kind of catchy, not boring, but not like, boo, wow, okay. Also, something that I've noticed that I do have to correct is don't put your picture on there. It's not necessarily necessary, and nobody is hiring you based on what you look like. So it's just not that important. It takes up space, and definitely have your picture on LinkedIn, but not necessary on your resume. That's really kind of more European, and we don't really do that in the US. Definitely make sure that you don't have any typos or misspellings. Those just really are bad news. And I say that because not only is it incorrect and appears sloppy, but then people assume, managers are going to assume that's how you're going to put together a project proposal or a technical writing project. And that's not impressive for a business nor putting together for a client. So they assume that you probably don't have a good attention to detail. So it can talk about you. I also say objectives, your hobbies, those things are also really not necessary, especially if you're pushing a length of resume. Remember what I said, the 20 to 30 seconds. I can't even tell you the last time I've read somebody's objective. It's not that important to me because I'm going to review the resume and kind of know what job you're going to match or not match. So really not that important unless you don't have very much work experience and you're trying to fill in space. I also say don't put your physical address. It's not necessary. Really your name, your email, your phone number, and your LinkedIn address. And if you see on LinkedIn where you have your profile, that's going to be the address up in the search bar. So always catchy to have on there. And LinkedIn is super important. And I talk about that a little bit here, but then definitely in my other webinar, avoid applying online. So you definitely want to take advantage of that one as well, because LinkedIn is key. So yeah, and why is that? So a couple of things. You don't want to be disqualified by the recruiter. You would rather pick or choose. So recruiters can disqualify you if they think the commute is too far. Maybe you like to commute. Maybe you're totally down and love listening to podcasts, or you really are willing to drive a little bit further for that type of job. You don't want to be disqualified, and they may disqualify you. And especially if you're out of a state. A lot of companies will relocate, but they would prefer not to. So I just say, give your resume the most opportunity to be contacted. So they need to vet you further. Don't let them vet you out based on your physical address. So just remove it. Not necessary. Education, always put your highest level of education. So for example, if your highest level is college, let's say a BS, you don't need to put high school on there, not necessarily necessary. Also, if you have your master's, definitely your master's and your bachelor's and what that focus was. And if your highest level of education is high school, then you could put that as well. And no graduation dates. That is more of a reference to your age, and that's not important. Unless you're just graduating, you could put expected graduation date of May 2020. Then it's clear to people, but other than that, not necessary. I always say a good rule of thumb, people always wonder the length of a resume. I generally say that if you have less than 7 years of experience, your resume should probably be 1 page. 7 to 10 years experience, you can go 2 pages. Over 10 years of experience, you can go three pages plus. I say don't do more than 5. Remember what I said? No one, I've yet to meet anybody that really goes back to page 4 or 5, unless there's something that they're searching for. So I can't tell you, sometimes I get resumes that are 10 to 15 pages, and it's kind of humorous because it is a book, and nobody can spend that amount of time. I also say it's really important to not be deceptive, and we're going to talk about that when we dig into the experience. But you definitely want to toot your own horn. You definitely don't want to be shy, but you also don't want to lie, and you don't want to say things that you didn't do, because that can come back to bite you. And what I mean by that is people know one another, or they may know of someone. You may apply for a job and not realize that somebody you used to work for works there, and they happen to see your resume and they go, I know he didn't do that there at that job. So that's definitely a killer, and can really put you in a bad place, and most people will pass on you. Or it might be something they really question in an interview, and it might be uncomfortable. So I just say don't be deceptive. Karma is not a good thing. And I really work with people on this one, and people really find this interesting. Sometimes when you're doing this job search and you have quite a bit of experience, I recommend you have more than one resume. And people ask me, why is that? Because you might be a candidate for a couple of different jobs. And let me give you an example. I'm working with a candidate right now who actually is an operations manager, has done a lot of boots on the ground operations, but is looking for a COO job. So that COO resume is really going to look different, and the skills and the things that we're going to put on there are going to be different than that operations manager, which is a much more technical job. So that is, where you might need a couple of different resumes, because again, remember, you need to have keywords on that resume. And I'm going to talk about this more as we dig in, but the keywords are really important, because that's how your resume is going to get pulled up and looked at if you apply online, or maybe on LinkedIn, how a recruiter is going to find you. So, or, when people are scanning the resume, remember, we don't read it left to right, front to back, all that business. We're scanning it for the keywords. So it's really important that you have that. And sometimes you've got to tweak your resume depending on the job that you're applying for, or have a couple of them. But have one good backbone template resume. And that's something that I dig into a lot in my coaching sessions. So here's a good sample resume. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why this looks, and I mean what looks good. So I like the appearance, right? I like the way that it's set up. Obviously, the name is at the top, but it's very clean. You can see that they're a compliance leader looking for a job. You can go down and see their work experience. The dates, I've removed those for confidentiality reasons. But this is just a really nice looking resume. Do you see what I mean more about template and format? This is just a nice looking format. So you can find these online, a lot of the formats where you're going to enter all your information, but you can just Google resume format. Sometimes you might have to purchase. There's a lot of free samples on there. So definitely do not spend a lot of money or get caught up in something that you're spending more than you had anticipated. There's a lot out there. That's the second page of that, but you can see clean, easy to read bullets, I love bullets. Do your bullets when you do the responsibilities, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so we talked about that and we looked at that good resume and those bullets. Those bullets are your job duties and responsibilities. Again, don't make people search. Don't write a story. Um, definitely keep it brief. But I always say start with a verb. Managed, coordinated, led, instrumental. There's so many good keywords you can start with. And it's really important that you do that. Um, the first few bullets need to be the most significant things that you did. So for example, if you were in sales, probably those first 3 bullets are going to be your primary sales responsibilities. And then move on down those bullets to kind of the fewer, less minor responsibilities. Again, bullets, maybe 2 or 3 sentences. Don't tell a story. Don't use third person. Troy Johnson did this. You're obviously Troy Johnson. Your name's at the top. Again, that's very European, more storytelling. I just find it to be sort of odd, to be frank. And I know most hiring managers that I've spoken to say, is this how people do resumes now? So I say, don't put it in third person. Really important. And I cannot, if there's any part of this webinar that I'm going to say that if you leave with something, leave with this. People are really good about putting their responsibilities. But what they forget is to show the results of what they did. So what do I mean by that? Okay, here's an example. Say you're, again, I'm going to go to sales. Say you're a sales manager and you're responsible for selling product lines, meeting monthly goals every month, and you're a contributor to the profits. Put that, but then instead of just leaving it there like most people do, then say that resulted in increased profits by 20% the last 3 years. That resulted in me being nominated #1 salesman for the last 5 years, received the highest bonuses based on sales every quarter for the last 15 quarters. Put the results of that, right? Obviously, sales means business, means bottom line, means what did you do? Maybe your job was to do some marketing. Put that you did marketing that resulted in an increased client base of 20% or attracted these clients. So put the results in there. There's always results, right? Or that you wouldn't have a job. So there's always goals and things that you're looking to achieve. Go back to your reviews and take a look at what those goals were, because you're significant and your role was significant, and you want to show them and talk to them that not only can I do this job, but I'm good too. Because you want to do the recruiter's job for them, right? Make my job easy, make that recruiter's job easy. Let them know that not only did I find a really great candidate, but I think that they're going to be really good and do a good job too. So that's important. So here is a resume before coaching, and I wanted you to see kind of the resume, a good one, like that format. So the one that we saw is really kind of your format template. I like this format and template. This is good, but I want you to kind of look a little bit more closely at how this candidate did their work experience. Do you see how I, as a recruiter, would have to spend some time here? I'd probably just look right in here, and if I wasn't seeing the keywords, I would probably pass. I'm having to read it. I'm not seeing bullets. I don't see results. He used the word we, la, la, la. Don't use the word we. That raises a red flag all the time, because they're not hiring we, they're hiring you. So they don't want to think that you relied on other people to get this done. So I say on a resume and in an interview, do not use the word we, unless you were a part of a team and you built a team and you're referring to that. So yeah, I just think this resume needed work. This candidate was struggling in his job search, and we really spent some time on this. And this is the second part of that resume. And you can see too, this candidate had quite a bit of experience, over 20 years. But this is kind of a short resume for somebody that's got that much of experience that is applying for a COO job. So I want you to see what it looks like once we completed it. So here's the completed resume. And you can see now where we've done bullets, where we create and develop some methodologies to improve company culture as a result of business growth and mergers. Program design have shown a 62% increase in the overall employee satisfaction. Boom. And we bolded it. Catch their eyes, 20 to 30 seconds, remember? So that's super important. So again, this is something that I really stress. I think it's important I liked how we also switched this around: title, name of company, bolded, dates that you worked over here. So this is just a really nice, really clean bullets, responsibilities, and the results of those responsibilities. Again, we even went into his second job, which actually was a meatier job than that first one, and he was here much longer. So we kind of broke it up so that they could read this. But yeah, this is a lovely resume, and he was super thrilled with it. Definitely looks really different than that original one. And as we started doing searches and he was passing this out, starting to get a response that was really, really different than the responses he was getting with that first resume. So we're going to talk a little bit about networking, because this is also really, really important. Obviously, you have a great resume. You want to be doing some networking, and people say, well, why, can't I just apply online? Oh my gosh, goodness, no. Don't just apply online. And in fact, really attend my next webinar so I can show you why that's a deep, dark hole, why you're not hearing back from companies and recruiters, and why networking is important. Probably most jobs they already have a candidate for, or they're actively pursuing other candidates, and that's because of networking on LinkedIn, networking, having conversations. I say at a soccer game, if you play soccer, if your kids play soccer, you're sitting around a bunch of people, parents that are probably working in business. You never know if the guy sitting next to you works for the company where you just saw they had an opening and you are so excited to work there. He knows you. Ask them if that you could pass their resume to them and they could get it to the right person. Or sometimes their neighbor is working for the company. So just networking is super important. There's meetups that happen locally. Check those out in your local community. If you're a professional, there's always associations that you can belong to. You can group with on LinkedIn. You can attend meetings and conferences. So these things are just really, networking is key to a job search, key to actually a success in working in business. Networking is just really, really important. So again, I kind of hit on that. LinkedIn, really please, if you need to have your profile, your resume in its entirety as much as possible. There is some space issues, but have that on LinkedIn, because again, if you have just brief information, if you haven't paid much attention there, if you're spending more time on Facebook and Instagram than you are on LinkedIn and you're looking for a job, that's probably part of your problem. Associations, I talked about anywhere. You would be shocked. the coffee house that you go to every morning and that same guy that you see, or even the barista. The barista sees everybody during the day. You know, leave them a couple cards, maybe your resume. They can help you out. They're great people. People love to help people. So do network. Don't be shy. All right. So people say, well, how do I get started? So I've really given you a lot of really good tips. I would say that if really the information and things that you have found here you think are helpful, and things that you would really want to engage in and dig in deeper, I'm an expert in this area. I would love to help. I coach clients, and there's been just the results and success rate have been amazing. I would say definitely check out Amazon, my current book, Journal Your Way to Success. And I have an upcoming book, Journal Your Way to the Ideal Career. But it really, $13.95, a really great tool. I love it. It's what I do every day. And I think I've gotten really great feedback on it. Here is some information on how you can reach out to me. And again, I do coaching sessions. I'm going to be offering more workshops and webinars. So definitely check out my website at rewriteyourcareer.com right here. So again, that's rewriteyourcareer.com. Feel free to email me to Sandie Troup 12@gmail with any questions, or happy to set up a consulting time. You know, we can do a quick call, 5 to 10 minutes, where I can share with you how the services work, what the sessions would look like. They're all customized. Nothing is a template. Everybody's needs are different, but I can also share rates and all that good stuff. Certainly follow me on Facebook, Sandie Troup Recruiter, and definitely Instagram at Sandie Troup. I am sharing and constantly sharing new information, new upcoming events. I'm doing quite a bit of TV interviews, so super excited and hoping to get to your city, and would love to meet you and talk to you in more detail. So super excited. Hope you guys found this helpful, and would love to hear from you, and do reach out to me, follow me, and good luck.